So, tell me again what you were asking about. Some Maharishi or something?
So, Ramana Maharshi and many others like him practice something called self-inquiry, which is to inquire into the self that is here. For example, you could ask, the common questions would be, where am I? What am I? And then you
Who
might
am I?
notice,
What was I
who
in
am
the
I?
past? What
Yeah.
will I be in the future?
No,
If I am
not,
this
but
now,
not
where
like
will I
that.
be in the future?
No,
All
not
of that.
quite. Not quite. You aren't asking anything
I'm
about the
covering
future,
all the
past.
bases. You're just not covering all the bases. I'm covering all the bases for self-inquiry. Who am I?
Okay,
What am I? What am I doing? What will I do next? What was happening in the past? How did I get here to be this? What will
No, I
this
think
do?
they prohibit. I think they explicitly say not to go into future and past. You're saying in the present moment, who am I? In the
Okay.
present moment, what am I?
All
Slightly
right.
different. They're not
Well,
asking about
like I said,
future or
the Buddha
past.
covered all the bases.
Okay.
Who am I? What am I? Where am I? What does I lead to? What is the past? What is the future? And what is the present me? All of the bases. To where these guys are saying, oh, and we're going to cover some of the bases. So, in the Sutta number 2, in the Sabha Asava Sutta, these questions, what am I, who am I, etc., the Buddha calls a thicket of views. Not worth our time, that in fact it's a thicket of views that will keep us caught in a thicket. He also calls it unwise attention because it's unwise attention because it does not liberate. And then he talks about what is wise attention. And what is wise attention is to pay close attention to this moment about what is dukkha. Is this dukkha? Is this dukkha? How did this happen? What is the dukkha? Where does it come from? What is the end of dukkha? What is it like to be free from dukkha? What is the path that leads to the end of dukkha? In other words, paying wise attention to the Four Noble Truths. Most specifically, in this case, also paying close attention to the Eightfold Noble Path, which is to remember to look at what we're thinking, decide whether it is dukkha or not, decide whether it is worthwhile or not, whether it's a hindrance, whether it's unwholesome, whatever it is, and then make a change for the positive. And by doing so, then the sutra says, and by the way, I'm quoting out of verse 11, though it was Bhikkhu Bodhi who put verse numbers in. And that this is where he states that one who pays wise attention to this is dukkha, the source of dukkha, the end of dukkha, and the path that leads to the end of dukkha, one will come out of personality view. One will come out of rites, rules, and rituals and how things are supposed to be, the oughtas, the would haves, the could haves, the rules, the concepts. And also one comes out of doubt about what is the path and what is not the path. But when people are doing self-inquiry, they don't make any real progress because they're caught in the thicket of views.
Can you tell me why they don't, in your opinion, make progress?
Well, who am I is a
teachers...
personality view. Who am I? What am I?
So,
and that's irrelevant.
Maybe a misunderstanding. I think maybe you're misunderstanding the practice. So the idea is when you ask the question, you discard whatever comes in, whatever comes up. So you say, what am I? And then a thought might come. You discard the thought. You say, not this, not that. You ask yourself, who am I again? A thought comes up. You say, not this, not that. And you continuously do it until you're left with nothing.
Okay.
And you're left with an
Except
extent.
that they will be left with dukkha, which is the entire teaching of the Buddha, is to be free from dukkha. And so you've got a self that you don't know what it is. Because it's not this and it's not that.
So
whatever you can come up with, you're not that. That's true. But it doesn't lead directly itself to the end of dukkha.
Okay. Then dukkha is only one of the three characteristics, right? Are we not meant to inquire
That is
into
the end.
three?
Wow, have you got that screwed up? The three characteristics, number one, is that everything is in flux, everything is in changing.
Yeah.
And if there is a self that you're inquiring about, you're going to wind up in dukkha. That's the three characteristics. And that a lot of people, especially in the West, especially in the Vipassana crowd, they put far too much emphasis upon those three characteristics. That in fact, that's the teaching of the Buddha, is not the three characteristics. The teaching of the Buddha is dukkha, dukkha nirodha. And if you can understand that anytime anything changes, if you stick to it, if you have a self, who am I, then there's going to be dukkha.
Okay, so the Buddha didn't teach the three characteristics, like that came
He
about
did
later?
teach them, but not as his primary teaching. It's actually just, in fact, I don't even know of a sutta where the three characteristics are the primary topic of the sutta. But it is true that if something changes and you like it or don't like it, that's a personality view, and that it's possibly going to lead to dukkha, especially if you don't like it. But if you do like it, you'll probably want to keep it, and things are going to change, and you're going to lose it, and then there's dukkha.
So why do you think there's such a strong, I guess, interest in the three characteristics from most, or a number of teachers like Daniel Ingram?
Well, partly because they don't understand the teachings of the Buddha. That in fact, you will hear them talk about the three characteristics, and if so, they're too busy talking about that to actually talk about the Four Noble Truths, which was actually the teaching of the Buddha, in the sense of dukkha, dukkha nirodha. This is the dukkha. This is dukkha. This is the cause of dukkha. This is the end of dukkha. And this is the method to get to that state. To see the dukkha and to throw it out. To remember to look, to see the dukkha, to remember to look, to see the unwholesome, to see the hindrance, and then to take the effort, right noble effort, to throw that dukkha out. That's the teaching of the Buddha. And that most of those who talk about anicca, dukkha, anatta don't even understand that it's like a crossroads. That if you come to an intersection, and you either go left into anatta or right into dukkha, or maybe it's a road that winds up with a Y. And you have a left fork to go on and a right fork to go on. Most people, when things change, they take the right fork into dukkha. But if you can, when something happens, you can say, not my business. That's not me. That's not mine. I don't own that. That's not my political party. That's not my country. That's not my patriotism. That's not my religion. If you say it's not my business, then you're taking the state of anatta. But most people will say, oh, there's an election happening. Which way is it going to go? Which is the state of dukkha. They either like the terms of the election or they don't like it. And people are mostly out there looking for, do they like it or not? And so your question is, who is it that likes and doesn't like? And the answer to that is, that's an irrelevant question. And it leads to a thicket of views.
Okay. On the topic of reframing thoughts, because you can say, this is okay, or this is not worth thinking about.
All right.
Now, as an observer of these thoughts, I feel like this could also be a tool for avoiding things you don't want to look at.
Yes. Why don't we avoid things that we don't want to look at?
Well, let's say you have a particular trauma or particular set of belief systems that aren't good for you.
Right.
If they
so
come
don't
every time
spend
they
any
come
time
up,
with them.
But how can you change out of a subconscious pattern if you aren't willing to look into that subconscious pattern and change it?
You just used the word reframing, which sounds to me like the word change. You stop having those unwholesome beliefs and unwholesome thoughts and start having some wholesome beliefs. Actually, some wholesome thoughts. Better not to hold any beliefs. Better to hold reality. Better to do an investigation and investigate what's real. Find out what's real and drop all of the beliefs, because the beliefs are, by definition, they're not real.
Okay, let's go into beliefs a little bit. We don't often realize what we believe. How do we know what is a belief and what isn't a belief? For example, I look out into the sky, I see it is blue. I suppose that's more of a fact. The sky is blue. But something like,
sometimes you look in the sky and it's not blue. Sometimes you look in the sky and it's dark, maybe with some stars. Sometimes you look in the sky and it's white. Sometimes you look in the sky and it's gray. So you can't say that you look in the sky and see it blue.
Okay. Here's another analogy.
That's in fact a point that the sky keeps changing. Sometimes it's windy, sometimes it's hot, sometimes it's still, sometimes the pressure is high, sometimes the pressure is low, sometimes there's a lot of humidity in the air, sometimes there's not, sometimes it's raining, sometimes it's not.
Yes. Okay, here's a better example, because that wasn't a good example. Let's say you are running through a forest and you are being chased by a tiger. Now, there's a 2-meter gap between two cliffs, and you have to jump to the other side of the cliff. Now, let's say, for argument's sake, that you've never jumped 2 meters before. You could argue that having the belief that I can do it, I can jump over the 2 meters, is going to help you. But you don't know if you can, right? That's a belief. When I hear about a lot of I can
belief
do
that
it
has
sort of
very
things,
little choice when you're in a hypothetical situation. The reality is, in your room, there are no tigers.
Well,
the reality is in this room, in this porch here, in this neighborhood, there's no tigers. I don't think that there's any tigers on this island, but I don't know.
That was just an analogy for the idea of believing I can do something that I don't know I can do. That is a belief, right? Is it worth having those beliefs or not having those beliefs at all? I'm wondering what is the right way to holds this anapatasati system?
It's not a matter of belief, it's a matter of confidence. Belief is what ignorant people have. Let's put beliefs in two different groups. People have beliefs about what's going to happen in the future. An example of that is I believe that in the election, this or that person is going to win. That's a belief. But they're making it up. It's not real. There hasn't been an election. One of the candidates that you believe may win may be dead before the election. You don't know. Or locked up in prison. You don't know. You don't know anything about that. And so it's better to not hold beliefs about the future. But in fact, a better way of looking at it is that, oh, the future's not my business. I don't make predictions. I don't care. So there's another kind of belief, and that is a belief about what is real. Like, for instance, does God exist?
Great question.
The atheists and the Christians were debating that for years. They drew quite a crowd. The crowds were actually even in a building that was an auditorium of a church, or it was in the auditorium at a university. And when they would have these debates about does God exist or not, and it was at the university, then all the students would hold to the side of the atheist. But if it was held in church, then all the people in the church were members of the church, and they would vote on the side of the preacher who was defending God does exist. The point is that these debates got really pointless because nobody ever changed their minds based upon these debates. Partly because people who believe stuff would hold those beliefs, and that most people don't even know that that in fact even the atheist would be a belief. Really, the agnostics are the ones who were working at the reality, and the reality is, I don't know. But there is a better way of saying I don't know, and that is the I don't know because we haven't properly defined the word yet. What is God? And if you define it in one way, sure, God exists. He's all around us. There it is. The temple of God is within you. And then you have the gods that are up on Mount Olympus, or that they're in Valhalla, or they're in heaven, or in the sky, a sky daddy with big binoculars and a camera, all of those kind of gods. And the answer to that is, I haven't seen one. I've seen satellites. I've actually seen one satellite. It was called Echo back in the 1960s. Now the satellites are generally too small to see, and I don't have a telescope. But there's fairly good evidence that satellites are up there, but there's no evidence of a God up there. And so that's in the realm of belief. So what belief actually means is you don't know. That's what a belief is. So in your hypothetical about being chased by a tiger, you don't know whether you can cross that path or not. But your choices is certain death by getting eaten or making a leap, and maybe you got a chance of surviving. So it's either certain death or a chance. But the better thing to do is to don't go where you're likely to get chased by a tiger off a cliff. That's stupid. I'd rather go for wisdom. The wisdom would say, be in a safe place. Like if you drive a car from, let us say, Cincinnati to San Francisco, people believe that they'll make it, but a lot of them don't. The car can break down, or more than likely they're going to have an accident or get stopped by the cops, or they spend the night someplace in a motel. But just getting to San Francisco is an idea. And it's a belief. And you may make it or you may not. And so the whole point then would be, let's come out of beliefs. Let's not hold beliefs. Let's not put ourselves into dangerous situations where we have to make a desperate choice between dying here or jumping and maybe not making it. In fact, you're wise enough to not be being chased by a tiger right now. Except in your mind, you're being chased by one. So those
Okay,
kinds of hypotheticals we can just stay out of. You don't need to have hypotheticals about, well, what happens if I'm chased by a tiger? Because you're not being chased by a tiger.
well, there's just a matter of
about
speech as a good analogy for a belief that you can do something.
After
Like,
I've torn it apart, I don't think it's that much of a good an analogy.
Well, I like it.
So what you can say is, can I do it or not?
Yes. When you don't know if you can do it, having the belief,
we don't have to be chased by a tiger. The point would be, can I fix that code if you're fixing code?
Well, ultimately, you don't know.
Can I cook that food?
But is it helpful to have the belief that, yes, I can? Or you should discard that thought in your mind and just be without that thought?
Again, it's not a matter of belief. It's a matter of taking the right effort. For instance, can I fry bologna? Can I fry bologna? It's not a matter of belief. It's a matter of going to the refrigerator and checking, is there any bologna in the refrigerator? If there's no bologna in the refrigerator, the likelihood of me being able to fry bologna is really remote right now. So let's say that we found the bologna. And now we find a pan, and now we find the stove. Does the stove have gas? I mean, look at all the possible options and all of these things about hypotheticals and whatnot. So let's go to the point of saying, yes, we can fry bologna. We could fry it if we knew how. Do you know how to fry bologna? Then that's knowledge. It's not a belief.
So often we can think something and we think we have the knowledge, but you can never really know whether you have that knowledge, right? It could be, for example, a delusion, but you're so certain is the truth. You could then say you don't know anything, right? Like anything that you think is a fabrication, anything that you think you know.
Well, now you're beginning to get someplace. Now you're beginning to understand that almost all thoughts are made up stuff. That's why it's better to stay in observation to see what's real rather than making up stories about what you believe. I'm not a fan of belief. I don't believe in belief. That's a joke.
So when I'm looking
I believe in observation, but I don't believe in observation. I know that observation is better than belief. Tried, true method, the scientific method of observation, experimentation is a whole lot better than making stuff up. And that's what religions are, made up stuff. And people believe in all kinds of things that have been made up.
So what I'm really trying to understand is, what is that thing which you can then say, I know this? Because you're clearly talking about it.
I know this chair is holding me up.
Yes. How do you know that?
Because I'm not on the floor.
I'm talking about it at a mental level. How does the you there? How do you know something or not know something? Something like a chair is kind of obvious, but there's other things, like you said, the scientific method. You know the scientific method is better than something else.
So let's go with the obvious. Let's go with things that are observable and stop making stuff up. called beliefs. I know I can go into the house because I've done it so many times before. I've got documented proof that I can go into the house. Not a doubt about it. It's not a belief. It's knowledge.
Right. So there's
Jumping over
definition.
cliffs,
Definition.
long time ago, I was quite able to jump. I was actually able to impress people with how I could jump around with great dexterity. Now that I'm an old man, I don't want to give it a go anymore. So it better not to be around lions and tigers that are going to chase. So let me say it again so that you can hear it very clearly. I'm not a fan of belief. I don't believe in anything except when I'm making a joke about I don't believe in belief. A better way of saying it is that I have absolute strong evidence that belief is painful, it causes suffering, it keeps people in doubt, because the reality is that they don't know. And it's better to be honest and say you don't know.
So you've often made statements about politics and things like that, which you don't know. You believe
That's
in.
right. You don't know.
So that's an example
That's
where
what I
you.
say about politics, is to stay away from it. It's dangerous. That I know about politics. It's
But you
dangerous.
also believe it's dangerous.
No,
How do you
I've seen
know?
it. I know it's dangerous. I
Now
know that I
somebody
have
else.
suffered when I care about it. I see people being suffering when they care about it. The news is full of people who were lying and cheating and getting caught at it because they care about politics. They want things to be true so badly, they believe in it, and they're willing to tell lies about it. It's dangerous. Direct observation. Thousands of pieces of data show that believing in one political party or another is dangerous and can be avoided. Don't believe in one political party or another. They'll disappoint you if you believe in them. This is the point that I make about politics. Stay out of it. It's dangerous. Don't identify. I am a Republican. I am a Democrat. I am a Labor Party union member. I am a CCP member. I am a proletariat. I am various different political parties is always dangerous.
Something I've struggled with in the past is the fact that language is really imprecise, right? Because whatever you say
Got
is never
evidence
going.
about that. That's why I
Whatever
talk
you say
about
is never truth.
definitions, because language is imprecise. Even when we give good definitions, the words we use to define things are often imprecise.
Yeah. So, do we have a responsibility to be as precise as possible, or we should not care about that because that causes suffering, and trying to be perfect, trying to make sure you're saying everything correctly?
I'm not understanding your question.
Okay. Should we try to be precise in our language, in our speech, or does that just lead to more suffering because we're trying so hard to be perfect? We're trying to say the right things in the right ways to be accurate in our speech.
The answer to that would be just simply be accurate, be correct, be real. No trying to it. And sometimes we are incorrect. Sometimes we make mistakes. So what? Are you going to suffer because you made a mistake, because you used imprecise language? Or are you going to be happy? That's the teaching of the Buddha, is to come out of our dukkha, to come out.
Would you say you are completely out of dukkha all the time?
Pardon?
Or are you always out of dukkha, or do you
That's
experience
really
dukkha occasionally?
that's a really inappropriate question.
Okay, sorry. I didn't. Yeah. I know some other people comment on things like that, so I wasn't aware, but I'll keep that in mind.
So let's go back over it again. Thoughts about who am I and what am I does not lead to the end of suffering. It leads to the end of, actually, it leads to a thicket of views about who am I. That in fact, every person is a changeable moving target. And yet many, many people believe that the personality is fixed. This is what gives rise to the issue of anatta. What did the Buddha mean when he says anatta? Because it's wrongly translated as no self. What he's actually pointing to is that there is no permanent self, which is closer to a no permanent soul. What he's pointing at is the nature. Everything is in flux, including you, your personality, not fixed. And that's marvelous. Why? Because that means that you can change your personality. You're not stuck. That in fact, the word anatta comes from the word of atta. Like, for instance, the name Mahatma Gandhi. Do you know that the word Mahatma, that actually means great soul? And the Buddha says, no, there is no soul, anatta. There is no soul. Which means then that the personality is not fixed. It can change. And yet, because it's translated wrongly as instead of no soul, they're translating it as no self, you have millions and millions of good little Buddhist, Western Buddhist children who are just confused, trying to define, is there a self or is there not a self? And a much easier way to talk about it is selfishness. When you are selfish, then you're creating that self. And that self that's created is created in the sense of wanting, craving, clinging, defining, instead of just leaving it undefined. Got several examples. One is your brother comes and he says he wants to borrow $500. The selfish dude is going to say, no, I need that money. And now you have two people who are unhappy. But if you say, yeah, I'll loan you the 500, now you have two people who are happy. Selfishness creates misery. No, I won't loan you the money. That's selfish. And yes, I'll let you have the money. It's not selfish. So selfishness and not selfish is a much better understanding and use of the term rather than does self exist or not. Because sometimes you feel selfish and sometimes you don't. Do you know when you're selfish? Do you know when you're not? This is what the investigation is all about, is to know through observation. Sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. Can you tell the difference? Can you even tell when you're making a change from one to the other?
You feel the change when there's a difference in sensation, I suppose. A change is a difference.
Liking and not liking, yes. If you're neutral and if you don't care, there's probably no self. If you like it or you don't like it, you're probably in selfishness some way or another, especially if you don't like it, or if you want it bad enough to go get it. So just sitting and relaxing is not selfish. Wanting this or that party member to win an election, that's really selfish.
So let's say you want to support somebody. Is that selfish to support somebody and want them to succeed, which would mean somebody else couldn't win the competition?
What are you talking about, succeed?
And
what are you talking about?
Whatever terms that means. In the political example, that would mean supporting a party member to succeed.
Right.
But I don't want to use that example because you attack politics. I'm just saying in general, supporting somebody,
all right,
for their success.
So what about, let's put it this way then, a success at being wholesome versus a success at being unwholesome? A success at being selfish and getting what one wants, or is someone endeavoring to be, let us say, successful at something that leads to the end of selfishness? Right. So supporting someone to become a monk, yeah, I'm in for that. Supporting someone to become president or to become a politician or to become a dog catcher or a policeman or a judge, don't come here for any help.
Now, something more, I guess, morally ambiguous might mean support in a workplace, right? Because it's hard to define whether the work you do in the modern workplace is good or bad. What would you say to that? Would it just be a very neutral kind of
good and
thing?
Bad is actually the whole point about defining what is good and what is bad is being judgmental. This leads to the story of Adam and Eve losing their paradise because they judge things as good or bad. It's better to not judge, but it is also better than how do you, as you see, is this dukkha or not? And so if you see dukkha and you don't like that dukkha, then you're creating two dukkhas. If you can see the dukkha and says, yeah, we can change that, then there's only one. And you changed it, so now there's none.
So would you say anything that results in less dukkha is wholesome?
You did not hear what I said. Let me say it again so that it rubs in really deeply. The teaching of the Buddha is about dukkha and dukkha nirodha. Can you see the dukkha and change it, or are you going to see something that you don't like and then do something that's going to make it worse, like hate it? So dukkha nirodha means that you can happily see the dukkha and happily change it.
So if we don't like a political system, we could change the political system.
No, good luck with that. If you don't like a political system, change your attitude. It's not your business to like a political system or not. Change your mind. You can't change politics. Look how many millions of people are trying to change politics, and all they're doing is harming one another.
Okay, at a smaller level, let's say there's a local council, or maybe there's a school
Then you
board.
don't have millions of people fighting with each other. You have a dozen people fighting with each other. Which side are you going to join? Which side are you going to hate? Let's stay out of even local politics. None of your business. Let the local politicians deal with each other. Stay out of politics.
What about local monastic? We're deciding, choosing something, or there's a leader in a what, or something like that. They still need some hierarchy.
Are you going to disagree with them? Why don't you just make it none of your business and let those people decide? Or are you going to go in and cause a stink, cause a fuss because you want your way?
So what happens in the Buddhist communities usually?
They generally get along.
Oh, okay.
And when they don't, it's because ordinary people are in there trying to get their way. They're being selfish. Nobles generally get along really well together, like water and milk. That's the analogy that the Buddha uses. They mix like milk and water, not oil and water, trying to shake it up to see if we can get them to come to an agreement. Generally, when they agree on dukkha and dukkha nirodha, there's no disagreement. Somebody can make a policy change and let the policy be changed. So what? Not my problem.
So when they do disagree, what happens?
Not my business.
Oh, right, you don't know?
I don't care.
Okay.
I don't know and I don't care.
Okay.
Because there's no I in there. It's not a matter of I don't care. It's just I don't care. Nothing to it. Not my problem. Not my business. Stay out of other people's dukkha. And stay out of your own dukkha. Don't make dukkha. Do what you're going to do and do it happily.
Okay, I see.
That's a profound point. I'm glad that you're beginning to see it. It's just stay out of politics, even what politics, even local politics, even household politics. That whatever happens is okay. Don't go around destroying your paradise because you think it's broken. Just let paradise be paradise and just glory in it. Wow, everything is so nice.
Do you think it's necessary sometimes to put up boundaries with other people?
Notice the word should. That's a rule that you're making. When you use the word should, you're setting boundaries. You're setting goals. You're setting standards for other people. For instance, my daughter, my wife will take care of that. I don't have to deal with my daughter. Just love her. I can ask her to do things, but if she doesn't do it, that's okay. Generally, she's responsive. Generally, she'll do what I ask her to do, like not make so much noise, close the door. But she's unlikely to do things like go wash the dishes. But it's her choice, not mine. And if I try to make it my choice, I'm just going to create dukkha for her and myself both.
So you wouldn't set a punishment or give a reward for behavior?
It's not a matter of punishment or reward. It's a problem. It's the issue of giving her what she wants for her birthday, if it's appropriate. Give her a surprise, and she doesn't like it, so what? See, you're trying to define stuff by making hypotheticals.
How do I understand
that would be
without...
a good thing would be to don't make a hypothetical. And let me put it this way. Don't try so hard to understand. You really, really want to know. You really want to understand. And by wanting to understand, you're actually making yourself dukkha. Better just say, I don't need to know that. Dhammarato was really vague and he doesn't answer my questions because he's already happy. Let me just be happy too. Oh, what a relief it is. I don't have to answer that question.
Oh boy. Well, what's there to talk about if you don't have questions?
Yeah, well, we can give a guided meditation. Never mind. Start again. Take a deep breath. Relax. And have some happy thoughts, like no place to go, nothing to do, everything is okay, not a worry in the world, everything is hunky-dory. Even Dory's hunky, it's still okay, not a problem in the world. Everything is all right. Everything is fine. Don't have to have answers to all of those questions. You see, belief that you've been talking about so much today is people demanding to have answers that they don't have answers to. And so they make stuff up instead of just not knowing. A belief is a made-up story about something people don't know. So stop having beliefs. Just be okay that you don't know. And everything is okay. Everything is fine. This is paradise. I don't have to fix it. It's not broken. Just because I don't know where everything in paradise actually is located, that doesn't mean that I have to know. Maybe I'll run across it sometime. Then I'll know. But until I run across it and know, it's better to not know and be happy to not know. That way we can stay out of what politics, we can stay out of local politics, we can stay out of national politics, we can stay out of world politics. None of it is our business and we can't fix it anyway. But what we can fix is our attitude. And the attitude is, I don't have to fix that. I'm good to go. Other people are disappointed about politics. Let them be disappointed. That's their thing. I can't fix them. In fact, I can't even fix you. I'm not even trying to fix you. Only you can fix you. That's the exact point of the second noble truth, is the cause of dukkha. The cause of the reason why you want to fix things is because you don't like it, and that your disappointments and your troubles and your dukkha and your dangers and all of that comes from your own ignorance about what you don't like and what you do like. And it's best just to stay let us say, ignorant about the things that we want to know or figure it out. Go ask questions happily. But do it happily. And belief systems are held by people who are not happy. They want to know to the point that they'll make it up. That's what a religion is. It's a whole bunch of made up stuff. That's why there's so many arguments and so many wars about religion, is because what that group made up and what this group made up is so different, and they hate each other over it because I don't believe what you believe. But here I am sitting kind of in the middle of it, actually not in the middle, but way off to the side, saying, I don't care what you guys believe. Not my business. So have at it. Kill each other if you want to. But it's not my problem. I could just sit here and be happy. Not my problem. I don't have to know all of that. Not my problem. Everything is okay. Everything is fine. Not a problem. Not a worry. All is well. Can you say that?
All is well. There's not a problem. There's not a
Not
worry.
No
And
worry.
all is well.
Everything is okay. That's how to practice.
Everything is okay.
Mm-hmm. Oh, what a relief it is. It's not my problem, not my job. My job has been done. The job that needed to be done has been done. What is that? Stop having jobs to do. So with no job, no worries. Everything is cool. Everything is all right. Not a problem in the world. Wow, how nice it is. No problems. All of my problems on a short list. So short that it doesn't even need a piece of paper. Nothing to it. So can you say that? No problems, no worries.
No problems. No worries.
No worries.
No worries.
No place to go and nothing to do and nobody to fix.
Yep.
No tigers chasing, no cliffs to jump over. Nothing is worth believing in. Wow, what a relief it is. Wow, what a relief it is. No problems, no worries, no place to go. Everything. So these are the wholesome thoughts. Have wholesome thoughts. Thoughts of who am I? Not wholesome. Because whatever you ask, you're not bad. Not for long. It's irrelevant to try to figure out who you are. You just sit and be happy, and it doesn't matter who you are. You can just sit and be happy. So can you say that? Doesn't matter who I am. I can just sit and be happy.
It doesn't matter who I am. I can just sit and be happy.
Right. All right. So you keep saying that. And forget about all these Maharishis and their questions. No need to ask any questions. That's just a mind of doubt. When you see the doubt in your own mind, you can say, I don't need to answer that question. I can just be relaxed and happy instead. Let that doubt melt away without a solution. That makes life really easy, you know. So, are you satisfied?
Yeah, relatively.
Well, then keep practicing so that you can be satisfied. Yeah, satisfied. Good enough. Relatively means not enough satisfaction yet. So why
Yeah,
don't
it's
you
good
say,
enough.
yeah, it's good enough.
Good enough.
Good enough.
Good enough.
All right. So let's end this call now so you're satisfied. Good enough.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
We'll see you later.
Catch you later. Bye.